The colony city of Veyra Spire rose in gleaming silver towers where humans and the blue-skinned Isla people lived side by side. In theory, they coexisted peacefully. In practice, the old wounds of the war had never truly healed. Nowhere was that more evident than in the halls of Lower District School 7. Leora Vantes arrived every morning in the same worn transport chair her father had rebuilt from scrap parts 3 separate times. Her legs had been crushed during the resettlement collapse 2 years earlier, and the chair was the only thing that allowed her to move through a world that had already decided she didn't belong in it. Her skin carried the pale lavender blue hue of her people. Her delicate, papery wings, threaded with faint veins of glowing light, remained folded tightly against her back. They had been useless for flight since the accident and now served only to twitch whenever she was frightened. Every day, the same 3 boys, led by a broad-shouldered human named Rennick Dale, waited by the courtyard gate. Every day, they grabbed the handles of her chair and wheeled it away, laughing as they left her stranded on the cold marble floor. She would drag herself forward with her arms while the other students looked away, pretending not to notice. Corwin Ashby had watched it happen for weeks. He was new to the district, quiet, and the kind of boy who kept his head down and his opinions to himself. But on the 9th day, when Rennick shoved the chair into a supply closet and locked the door, Corwin stopped looking away. He walked straight past Rennick, knelt in front of Leora, and said the only words that came to mind. "I've got you." She stared at him in surprise, her luminous violet eyes rimmed with humiliated tears. "You don't have to." "I know," he replied. Then he lifted her gently into his arms. That was the first day he carried her home. It became a routine neither of them had ever planned. The bullying only escalated. The boys hid the chair in the reservoir. They threw it from a transit platform. Once, they even falsely reported it confiscated by district officers as a joke. Every time, Corwin found Leora. Every time, he carried her through the courtyard, down the long marble corridors and past students who stared and whispered, human and alien, as though kindness between them were a scandal instead of a friendship. Leora begged him to stop. "They'll turn on you too," she warned one evening as he gently set her on the porch outside her home. Her voice trembled with fear. "I don't want you getting hurt because of me." Corwin looked at her calmly. "You're not going to make me leave. I don't care what they call it." Weeks passed. Their friendship grew into something neither of them yet had words to describe. It wasn't romance. It was something stronger. A fierce, unshakable loyalty formed between 2 people who refused to let the world isolate them. Corwin learned the Isla hand signs for gratitude. Leora taught him how to read the drifting lights of her home world's night sky, still faintly visible above the spires. Soon, Corwin began walking her to school every morning so her chair would never be left unattended. Then came the day everything changed. A diplomatic crisis shook the colony. A transport malfunction in the outer ring left dozens of Isla families stranded and injured. Leora's own cousin was among them. The district ordered an emergency evacuation through the central atrium, the enormous glass-domed corridor connecting the human sector with the Isla quarter. It was the very same corridor where Leora had first been humiliated before an entire crowd. Now it was lined with soldiers, colony officials, and families from both communities, all watching the wounded being carried through. Leora's new chair, a proper motorized model finally approved by the Colony Council after years of petitions from her father, had been damaged during the transport accident. Its wheels had been crushed. Its light ring flickered weakly before dying altogether. Once again, she found herself stranded. Exactly where she had been stranded so many times before. And exactly like before, Corwin stepped through the crowd. He knelt beside her without hesitation. Then he lifted her gently into his arms. But this time was different. This time, the entire corridor fell silent. Rennick Dale stood among the onlookers, and for the first time, he didn't laugh. Instead, he stepped forward, took the broken chair by its handles, and pushed it alongside them. Not to steal it, but to help carry it through. His jaw was tight with something that looked almost like shame. Soldiers straightened as they passed. Officials lowered their heads in quiet respect. Through the great glass dome above, The towers of Veyra Spire caught the morning light, making it seem as though the entire city was watching this one boy refuse, once again, to put her down. When they reached the medical wing, Corwin gently set Leora onto a proper bed. Her delicate wings settled softly against the white sheets. She caught his sleeve before he could step away. "You carried me through the worst day of my life," she whispered. "And the best one. Both times it was you." Corwin smiled gently. "It'll always be me. That's not a promise I'm taking back." By the following season, the Colony Council passed the Accessibility Charter for Youth, introducing new chairs, new ramps, and new laws protecting students like Leora from exactly what she had endured. Rennick, of all people, stood beside Corwin during the signing ceremony. He was quiet, changed. The confidence that had once fueled his cruelty had disappeared, replaced by a shame that softened his face whenever he looked at Leora. Leora's new chair gleamed in polished silver and blue, built precisely to her measurements. A small crystal engraving was set into the headrest. It reads simply, "For the ones who carried her." She never needed carrying again after that. Not because Corwin stopped offering, but because she never had to ask twice. The city had finally learned never to let her fall again. Some friendships are built in comfort, in warm rooms, in easy laughter. Theirs was built in every cold hallway where no one else would look, in every stolen chair, in every silence that should have been broken sooner. And it never broke. Long after the shining towers of Veyra Spire had witnessed countless other stories rise and fade, this one remained. A boy who carried her, and a girl who never had to be carried alone.